Thank you so much. I'm honored to have this opportunity to address this distinguished panel. The 2014 and 2019 elections have led to the repositioning of India as a majoritarian state. Hindu majoritarianism sanctifies India as intrinsically Hindu and marks the non-Hindu as its adversary. What is going on in Kashmir needs to be read within that landscape. Race and nation are being made synonymous, and Hindus, the formerly colonized, now governing elite, are depicted as the national race. The siege of August 5 signaled the dissolution of the right of Kashmiris to consent over their present and their future. In October 2019, India's incumbent Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, reportedly stated that Western human rights standards cannot be blindly applied to India. And I would here ask us to also recognize and remember that Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah were also part of the government in Gujarat in 2002 when the pogrom against the Muslim community took place, and they have never actually apologized or claimed responsibility. In Kashmir, through the protracted conflict, atrocities have been committed against the civilian population that include dispossession, displacement, enforced disappearances, rape, torture, extrajudicial execution, and their burial in unknown and mass graves that I have investigated. I have actually walked through the graveyards that hold Kashmir's dead, and I have met with grieving families. I've listened to a testimony of a mother who sleepwalks to the grave of her son, attempting to resuscitate his body. I have met with half-widows, women whose husbands have been disappeared. Kashmir's population lives with recurrent trauma and social death, and with a very high rate of suicidal behaviors. Only on the rarest of occasions does a female victim of gendered or sexualized violence succeed in even bringing her case through the judicial system. Torture, too, is an intrinsic component of governance in Kashmir. If I want to spend a minute talking about Kashmiri resistance and human rights. If the stand of the ruling party in India is that the resolution of the Kashmir issue will be attempted through demographic changes made possible through the abrogation of Article 35A and the nullification of Article 370, many in Kashmir fear the intent of this demographic change may be culturally and potentially physically genocidal. The international community must engage in protecting the rights of Kashmiris and amplifying their voices. Subjected to a near constant state of suppression for decades as Kashmiris have been, and in active and continual dissent as Kashmiris have been, how can the Indian state take for granted the collective consent of the Kashmiri people? Kashmiris state that following August 5, 2019, they are afraid of their forcible incorporation into the Union of India by Hindu nationalists. Many are apprehensive that inhuman conditions, extreme brutality, and the negation of human rights by institutions of state could foster an armed uprising within Kashmir yet again. Human rights violations and the states of exception that sustain them cannot be addressed without demilitarization. Demilitarization of Kashmir is repeatedly discoursed as an issue between India and Pakistan. Further, the fraught relations of historical animosity between the two states continue to cast a long shadow over Kashmir. Kashmiris across every diversity and difference stipulate that they must be recognized as legitimate and the principal stakeholders in any and all matters pertaining to Kashmir's future, and that their right to determine and govern their destiny must be recognized. Thank you. I will end with just one quotation from someone who's been living in the Kashmir Valley. It's two people, it's a composite. She says, "We are under siege. Isolation is a cage in which we live. There is fear of escalation of violence, state violence, insurgent violence. The atmosphere is one of unchecked reprisal, and it has resulted in the silencing of the people. We feel our future is very uncertain. My words are silent. In this silence, I can hear the screams, I see the streaks of blood on the steps of the shop, I smell the anguish, I hear the state's violent denials, the eyes of a boy blinded by pellets last week. I see my sister's tears as the soldier grabs her, our rage, the soldier's sadistic gaze, the bullets lodged in the wall next to our home. I see. Thank you.